So good morning. First of all, this is not a presentation, it's a discussion. I'll give you some pointers of what I want to discuss, and then it's up to you. So thank you for coming. Where's the room microphone? Yeah. I'm going to need it to go around. So the discussion is currently being recorded, but I don't know if we're going to make that public anyway. But the point is, for everybody to listen to the questions, please wait for the microphone. I might just walk around. I'm not going to stand here at the podium. This is, like I said, not a presentation. I'll try to use actually the flip chart over there to write down some of the points we've discussed. I could also write on a slide on the presentation so everybody can see. So, okay. A couple of people still coming by, but I'll get started. So, who am I? I'm product manager at Qt Development Frameworks. And I've been with the company for a long time now. Started in 2006, started again 2007. Then with the acquisition 2008, I became an OCAN. And my daily work is a product manager for the core domain in Oslo, where we work and we deal with core I/O networking, tools, classes, operating system interface, on all of that. And the other two things I've been doing, which interestingly is exactly what I've been presenting here at DevDays, are the open governance. So this morning, and thanks for coming. I know that after last night's event, some of us had a hard time getting out of bed. So thanks for the effort, it's really appreciated. And the other subject was Migo relationship and how we are involving ourselves from the Qt side in Migo. So those are the presentations I have here at DevDays. I had yesterday a talk about Migo, and this morning I'd like to discuss open source with you. In the past, I was a developer. I still consider myself a developer, even though I don't have that much time to develop. On the other hand, that also means I don't have any responsibilities developing. I just do it when time comes and I have the ability to do something to improve the code. And I also was release manager, the person who was responsible for getting the release out to you. Anyway, so thanks for coming. I have 2 slides to show what we're talking about here, to set the tone, and then we're going to move on to discussion. What is open governance? What and why? I'll start with the what. We're trying to make open model for participation in how Qt works. So yesterday you might have seen, I don't know who of you were yesterday, in the roadmap discussions. So in the roadmap discussions, and the talk here afterwards, by the way, is on mobility roadmap, is a way for us to understand what you want on our roadmap, for you to give us feedback on what we are thinking of doing ourselves. What I'm talking about here is not only that, but what happens after. So you told us yesterday you wanted this, you wanted that, you wanted native-looking widgets everywhere, you wanted a couple of other things, but what happens afterwards? How do we make a decision of whether to do this or not do this? How do we release? When do we release? What do we include in that release? These discussions are things that I would like to see open and allow you here and everybody else to participate, which means see what's happening, be able to influence it, and have your opinion heard. More than that, we also want to enable you to participate in the development. If you want to maintain a piece of code, if you want to contribute enhancements, if you want to review patches by others. Given this, what might happen is suddenly you become responsible for part of Qt, which is a huge responsibility. If you're up to it, if you really want to do it, we want to have you there. And the important thing is we don't want to make this exclusive to Nokia employees. We want this to be for everybody. So you might be asking, yeah, this is great, But why are you doing this? Isn't Nokia going to lose control? What happens if somebody isn't as good as the trolls, for whatever good we might be? And I have very good and brilliant friends in development, but what happens there? Well, the first thing is we've been down this path for a number of years. We've been down the opening and opening and opening for, well, since the beginning. You might not know this, but in 2011, we're coming up on 10 years of having Qt as GPL. 10 years since we actually became GPL. Before that, we were already open source. We were QPL. We went LGPL at the beginning of 2008? 2009. 2009, I think. So you see that we are opening. Then we also had the open repository. We had the contribution model, which allowed us to get contributions from people, review ourselves, but we got the contributions. In the Factor Crap yesterday quiz, there was a question saying, did we have 600 from the beginning of the year today? Yes, we had 600 contributions in Qt, Qt Creator, Qt Mobility. The other thing is that we're being a bit too successful. We're getting everywhere. That was the objective all the way along, right? Code less, create more, and deploy everywhere. So we are actually being successful. We're growing. And the fact that we had 1,000 people here in Munich is a very good example of that. But we're growing faster than an organization can grow for our size. We want to have very good developers, which means we have a lot of time, hard time hiring, but also moving to Oslo. Many people don't want to move to Oslo. I don't know why. I'm Brazilian. I moved to Oslo. So we want to tap on a pool of talented people which we haven't tapped yet, and that's you. Right? We want you who are using Qt, who are interested in Qt, to be able to have a say, have the rights, but also the responsibilities that come with it, and join us in this development. Now, we're talking about being open. What are the requirements for being open here? Fair, open, inclusive, meritocratic. We want something that is fair to everybody, and the most fair model we found is actually meritocratic, in the sense that if you're good, if you are committed to the project, if you show this, then you deserve more responsibilities and rights. It's something that has to work for the 140, 150 trolls we have already developing. So whatever model we discuss here, and have been discussing for months already on the internet, it has to work for our guys, because we are doing this on our daily work. So these 150 people that we have in the office in Oslo, Berlin, Munich, Brisbane, it's their daily work. So we can't ask everybody to do something that would just grind to a halt. We need to find a model that works for everybody. And there are some legalities that, as a company, we have to protect ourselves, but also allow you to protect yourselves. We are implementing some Ipr checks, and we require the contribution license agreement. These are non-discussable points. We need them. What we need to do is find a way to make them work for us. And what we found out is that this is an open source model. Many open source projects have done this. They have successfully created a model that is fair, open, inclusive, and meritocratic. And they have their source code open. So this is what we're trying to do. So like I said, I had 2 slides. Those were it. I'd like to discuss now. So I have the microphone. I will walk around. I don't know why you are here. I'm not going to ask you to introduce yourselves because we're about now 30 people. That would take too long. But I would like you to raise your hands when we have a discussion and contribute to it. You're not talking to me. You're talking to the audience. You're talking to one another. I'm here to help you discuss, and I have some points I would like, for example, for us to discuss. So I have a list here of how this might work, of what we need to figure out. This is just for us to have in the back of our minds when we're discussing. Right? So that was it for the presentation part. I'm turning the microphone on, and let's see who has questions.
Hello. Could you elaborate more a bit about the Ipr check and the licensing which Nokia wants to have contributors to?
Okay, so you're asking me why and what exactly these are. So there are two things. Any projects require, any code from copyright perspectives requires you to license it to other people. What we require is a special license called the Qt Contributors License Agreement, which is very simple. Basically, it's saying, I wrote this, I have the right to give it to you, and I do so under, I won't charge you, and I'll let you use anywhere in the world, and this is non-exclusive, so you may take your own code and give it to somebody else too. It's a fairly short license that is saying this. I own this, and I have the right to give it to you and allow you to use it in Qt and Qt everywhere. This is the license agreement. Very short and to the point, so that we just can get the contributions out of the way. It's not a 10-page license that your lawyer will pull his hair out. No, we're trying to be simple here. The Ipr check is a requirement, because if you're going to put your code inside Qt, we need to be sure. We need to be sure of many things. Whether I might trust you, but somebody coming from the internet at random, we don't know whether the code is of theirs, whether it came out from another project where he stole, and the license might be incompatible. So you didn't have the right to give us under the contribution license agreement, right? So if you didn't, we have to find this out. What we need to do, by the way, raise your hand if you just want to continue, if you want to comment on anybody's question. But what we need to do is just to make sure that this doesn't get in the way. Yes.
Yeah, just a quick comment to that last thing. It's basically a copyright transfer.
No,
it's
not a copyright transfer. We used to require copyright transfer so that we, as Trolltech at the time, kept the copyright. No. What we're asking you of here is, it's your copyright, it's your code. You retain it, right? And you get all the blame and praise for having written that code. So it's yours. What we're asking you is, give us the right to use this where we're placing Qt.
Yeah, but anyway, basically my comment was that you have to make sure that your employer allows you to sign that agreement. At least for me, I work for Cisco, and at least for me, I needed director level approval to be able to use that agreement. It was no problem to get that, but you have to be a bit careful.
Yes, I've heard this argument as well, also talking to some partners, and they said, well, it might be a short and very easy to understand agreement, but I still need to get approval. Sometimes it's easier if there is a standard agreement that it's, yeah, this is approved for anybody, you can use it. The moment that we have a different license, it is, yes, your employer needs to agree.
Yeah, it's no issue at all, really. It's just to be a bit careful, just so you're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, does that mean it has to be done on a personal level, so for each individual? And as a company, we can't basically tick this off once. We just have to basically say it's okay for every single employee to sign this, but we can't blanket do it for the company.
So what you're asking me is, I want, as a company, to give you the right for all of my employees to do this. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can find a way to do that. So our legal department can just sign it and blanket it for your company. So this is doable. I mean, anything that might help speed up the process, let us know. Let us have your ideas, and we'll think about it. I don't want to stay just on the legal requirements. Yes, they are in the way. We need to make sure that everybody's satisfied. But how about the other topics here? How do we, what is the lifetime of a patch? How does it go from somebody's idea to committed code?
Yeah, so once a contribution has been made, what's the current process of deciding whether that contribution gets accepted or rejected, or whether it goes in the mainline release branch or not?
Okay, so what is the current process, you're asking me? Well, the current process is one of our guys looks at it and says, this is good. Or, this needs to be improved. Or worse, I have no clue. It's new code, I don't know this. And that is one of our people. Only us, at this point, can make this decision. What I want to know from you is how can we improve this so that more people can? Again, a meritocratic process. So right now, the only people who know fairly well the code are working for us. There are many outside, and probably in this room, we have many of you here who can make very good informed comments and help us make the decision as a group. If you want, I can explain some of the models that have been discussed on the mailing list. Is this something you want?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, so many ideas have been posted. One of them is like WebKit. I don't know if you know how WebKit works. They basically have contributors, which is anybody. Anybody can contribute. And when you start to post a patch, when you post a patch on their Bugzilla, this is the only way to submit anything to be integrated. You accept a contribution license agreement. So the moment that you click on Bugzilla, patch, it says, here's the terms under which you are contributing this. And you say, okay, accept. It gets contributed to WebKit. Oh, by the way, the agreement says we're not required to use it. Right? It's not because you sent us that we have to put it in. And then you have a next level in WebKit, which is reviewers. So people who the community has trusted, they will look at your patch and say, this is good, or no, this requires improvement. It requires to split up the commits so that they're more logical. You changed white space. Please don't do that. You didn't follow the coding conventions. Some of these reviewers are actually bots that will look at your patch and say, well, it compiled. Yes, so this is good. Or no, you broke the build. No need for a person to spend the time reviewing your code if you broke the build. After there is a number of reviewers who have given their thumbs up, there's the committer who takes that and puts in the main line. So this is the model in WebKit. And by the way, to become a committer, you have to sign another agreement with Apple. This is the model that works currently in WebKit. I can describe also how it works on the Linux kernel. On the Linux kernel, you have a contribution you post to a mailing list. The Linux kernel mailing list, also known as LKML. They have a traffic, it's not very big, only 20,000 emails a month, something like that. If you don't have a powerful filter system, you don't want to join it. So all patches are posted there. People comment, anybody comments. And if you do something wrong, they really yell at you. But the point is, the discussion happens all in a mailing list. All the emails are there, anybody can comment. At one point, you simply have to convince a maintainer or somebody who is maintaining a portion of the code which you're interested in that this was good. So it's not a right give, it's a social relationship. I convinced you that you're the maintainer of the file system support in the Linux kernel. I have a contribution to file system. You looked at it and said it's okay. So you put in your code. And then the next level, the Linus, for example, he simply takes the contributions from the people he trusts. He takes them. These people collect from others. This is a social mechanism. So what we've been discussing is a hybrid. So discussions happen on mailing list, but we need some tooling to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. And also to enable these bots to verify that code compiles, doesn't break the build. Let me turn. but we're not sure what we need, and especially we don't have any tooling. So what do you have to suggest? What tools can we use? Should we use only a bug tracking system? Do you know of any tools for handling mailing lists and make sure that we don't fall through the cracks?
Well, my opinion is that if you, if the Qt community want to scale with contribution and with patches, probably we as a community need a better tool than just attaching a patch to a bug tracker, because that doesn't scale very well, can work for a typo or bug fix, or I don't know, a 10-line fix. But if you want to do ongoing development, on refactoring on some area, you probably need to have like a distributed control system where you can just send the whole branch for merging or something like that, just like on the LKML.
Yes, I agree with you. We need something that is very easy to use. So remember what I said before, there's 150 engineers already working on this.
Yeah, and so that's part of the problem in that right now the Qt development frameworks programmers have all the knowledge on Qt. So basically, if you want to commit a bug fix, it's easy. But if you want to contribute something bigger, it's close to impossible, because we don't have the knowledge, and we have no way to get that knowledge right now.
Okay, so how do you let's follow on that discussion. Thank you. So how do we spread the knowledge? Well, we know it, and I know many of you here do know a good deal of Qt, but how do we get more people to know it? And how do you know the specifics on how to do things differently? There some things are very important. I, for one, want, for example, a mailing list. But is this what everybody wants? Can you suggest other things? Kimo.
Well, I agree with the mailing list, especially for stuff that's probably currently discussed in-house. I think a lot of things where development goes, or how to resolve an issue and stuff like that, how to do new features, it just magically appears for us outsiders. And I think if the discussions about these things are visible, we can learn a lot from the process.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not as worried about the how-to as you are. I'm more worried about the what to do. That when a bug is simple, but as a bug becomes a missing feature, and a missing feature becomes well, more than just a missing, filling in a gap. That's where this is a total black hole. Because we don't. It's not knowing how to do it, it's knowing where you're going. So we don't know if we're doing something which is on the long-range plans that you're trying to reserve, or it's something which is in conflict with something that you might be doing, or it's something which you'd really like to see. But if you only had the people, it's the what to do is a much more interesting, a harder one.
So, are you going to answer that?
You are in charge of answering. I'm just asking.
No, I don't want to. This is a
Just
discussion.
kidding.
Remember, guys, this is a discussion, right? So, do you have a suggestion on how to solve the problem of what he just said?
Or what not to do.
Or what not to do?
Well, I don't know. I just came across that idea. I don't know if it's something. I mean, following what's generally going on. I mean, everything's going towards social networking and meshing stuff up. So I've recently come across that tool that kind of mixes project management with social networking, meaning that basically you're inviting friends. You know who your buddies are. You can discuss. I mean, things just like on Facebook, but it's linked into a project management type of setting. So I mean, taking something as big as Qt to the next level. I mean, why not just turn it into a social network? I don't know. May sound crazy, just an idea, but I mean, you create like working groups for modules that exist within Qt, and then people sign up for joining discussions around a particular module, and the interaction basically works like on Facebook. I mean, you comment stuff, you add ideas. I mean, you add modules to upload code and whatever, make it into a kind of a mixture of a lab, a social network, and a code contribution tool. Okay. I mean, that is like, it's a crazy idea because you first of all need to develop something like that, but I mean, just to throw the thing into the round.
So no, it's not a crazy suggestion. What is this tool that you're thinking of?
Well, you need to develop it. I don't think it exists. It's called Facebook with something else. It's like face something code. New, right?
Face code, something like that.
Yeah, social coding.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I thought that you had a tooling for us. I was too hopeful.
There are tools. There are tools out there. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I can put you in contact with people that make tools like this.
Please do. We're looking for the tooling. Like I said, tooling to be used. We have many ideas. Sometimes it's a very good idea, like social net. But how do we get there? Remember, if this tool doesn't exist, we need to develop it. And we're obviously looking for people to help us along. Otherwise, we'll have to do it ourselves. And the time it takes to implement the tool for the model that we want to use might impact on our ability to go forward with this. But going back to what you said there about the what. It's actually not on the list here that I put, but the what is something that we want to enable you to do. Sorry. One thing that struck me what you said was whether we're reserving something. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as us reserving any topic. Right. We might be developing something, and if we're doing it without you knowing, well, you start it, and then we'll have to talk together. If you finish before we do, then your code is good. Why should we reject you? The point is, fair, open, and inclusive. If it has to be fair, if you did your work, if you participate in the community, and your code is good, taking Qt to its vision, to its direction, then there is no reason to reject just because it came from you. So there is no such thing as a reserved topic. I can tell you what happens with Apple. Apple usually develops new features for their operating systems and devices on WebKit in-house. They don't let people know what they're doing. So if you suspect that Apple is developing a new feature, do you know what you do? You start developing the same thing. Because then what happens? They're forced to come forward with this. Oh, hey, we had been thinking of this. We have some research code here. Let's do it together. I don't want to be Apple. What I want is to have all of our research in the public. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we have some engagements with the customer or with Nokia itself, and we are unable to start in the public. But research in the public so that you know what we're doing, you know what we're not doing so that you can do it, and you know beforehand what topics really we don't want. So if you want to port Qt to DOS, well, I actually know somebody who did. He works for your company. But it's something that we might probably not accept in Qt.
I think that if we want to get to the point where there is a meritocratic approach to developing Qt, we probably can start by having immediately a few maintainers of some areas of Qt which are not Nokia employees, because that could give the community a sign that Nokia is doesn't want anymore to be in control of the whole Qt code base. So since there are large areas in Qt where you are not focusing development, let me say, then probably you should start investigating if you can find someone that can immediately become a maintainer of those parts. And if there is nobody right now, because as we said, we as a community, we don't have the rationale for the existing code because it was never developed in public. Maybe a suggestion could be to just select a few people that you trust for some reason, and then have some kind of partnership where you train us on those parts of code, and then you hire them publicly as maintainers, where hire is not an employee's meaning, of course.
That is a very good suggestion. I'll tell you, actually, we have started doing this before the model is complete, but we have already started to think about this, to think of a few people whom we know are capable and even trusted by the community already. I don't want to go in specifics, but we have started to do this already. But I'd like your opinion. Where should we go, and where can we find these people?
I would start by telling the world that you are looking for these people. I think they could come up.
Fair point. Fair point. If you don't tell, people don't know.
Yeah,
so it's a good point.
So I think this is the first point. Then I might be biased, of course, but you also have an ecosystem of Qt partners, which are, approved, capable, experience in Qt. You have all those Qt certified developers, ambassadors, and whatever. So I mean, even if you had to blind choose someone, surely you are not picking among the whole programming community in the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask how many of you are certified, but I don't think this is something I want to ask here. Not fair. But it's just that being able to use Qt doesn't translate being able to develop Qt. Now, you're right. We need to teach you how. We need to be able to open up the community. How do we do this? How does the process work? All of this we need to train you. I know some of the partners have been developing parts of Qt. Right? I know from our friends here that you have had several engagements with customers and where you had to modify. So I know they have capable people. But we don't want to restrict to partners. Where else can we find people? Where else can we find contributors? And I agree with you. Something for us to do is announce this and somehow train you to become maintainers.
Isn't that something that just have to grow organically and will take its time? I mean, if you're thinking about other open source projects like KDE, I mean, how are you going to get a influence or a KDE maintainer? I mean, you're starting by your first patch, whatever, fixing a translation issue, and then you're encouraged, and the next fix is bigger, and then, well, suddenly you learn the code more and more. I'm not sure whether it really is anything like training. I mean, it sounds to me like, hey, let's create a Qt certified contributor stuff. But yeah, it just has to take its time. But to get there, I mean, people have to be encouraged to actually start looking in the code, not only, okay, I'm finding a bug, and okay, tools will handle it.
Well, part of the problem I see is that Trolltick and Nokia have such a huge head start. At least if you were working on KDE, you could look up the old mailing list archives to see the arguments about the design decisions made behind Solid, and finding out why some of the decisions were made and why they didn't go in another direction. So when you sit down and work on the code, you can also decide not to go in that direction that they had decided years ago was a really, really bad idea. So having access to either some sort of internal, either a person or internal design documentation, I think would be pretty key for working on, heavyweight things such as graphics view. Why were certain structures decided on? Why were certain algorithms implemented?
Sorry. One thing that I can tell you will not happen is that we cannot open past mailing lists because confidentiality reasons. It's not that we had many secrets going on, but every now and then there's a name of a company, there's a name of an engagement, or of a Nokia device, and etc. And it just doesn't pay off to filter it out so the rest is public.
Yeah,
but you're right in terms of having access to people.
Yeah, I wasn't actually proposing to having training like an ongoing requirement for being a maintainer. It was just a mean to get there, because if the rationale behind the code, which is why the code is right now as is, it's something which is just in trolls' minds, and can be written because of this kind of crazy legal stuff. Probably the best way is face-to-face training to just start spreading the word.
Yeah. So face-to-face, that's a good point. I'll get back to that in a second. So the access to the people. Yes, we need to have access to that. And what Kai said about growing organically, was my plan. I actually like your suggestion of speeding the process up. Right, we do want to grow organically, and it is a process that will take time. But there are a couple of things that we can do to speed it up. And coming to the face-to-face, one idea that I've had in the back of my mind is to have a gathering of people interested in developing Qt. So not Qt Developer Days, not this event here, where we come to tell many people about what we're thinking, but a smaller event where we sit together and we have sessions on improving graphics view, improving the functionality in QList, right? Improving performance of QList in Spark processors, something completely you wouldn't expect to see in DevDays, but a gathering of people whom we've started to notice who do want to come and do want to participate.
So when you have that event, in addition to all of the technical things that you're thinking of, add roadmap. I mean, just where you're going is a place that we want to contribute.
Yeah. So roadmap, do you want to say something about it, Kimo?
Okay, so a couple of words about the roadmap. So as we move to this direction, I think it, like Thiago mentioned earlier, I think it will be a joint roadmap for the project. So it's not like that any of us would be making a grand master plan for the Qt. It is about coming together with the need and the time and the money that you have in putting to Qt, and that's then your roadmap for Qt. And when all of that combines, that's then the Qt roadmap. So of course, we need to open up what is it that we are going to do, what are the areas that we are going to focus, and explain more explicitly what are the parts that Nokia probably doesn't touch with its resources. And I agree, yes, we need to be more transparent on that, and that's one of the topics we've been discussing with the 4.8, that yes, let's have a mailing list, let's have all the discussions about the content, the schedules, the features on that mailing list so that everybody knows what we are focusing on. But I've been frequently asked for a kind of a longer term roadmap. Where does Qt go in the next 2 years or 3 years? And it's actually something that, if I'm totally honest, we don't have. I mean, we have research projects on several areas and a lot of ideas in people's heads. And then it gradually turns into development projects, and that then turns into release projects. And I think that's the honest answer for most of projects like size of Qt. It's very hard to say where the industry is going to be, what are going to be the needs in the next 2 or 3 years. Of course, we know some of the major areas where we have to do a lot of rework, and maybe also one of the feedback for us is that we need to be more explicit on the points that, okay, this is something that we think will actually grow into bigger renewal of Qt rather than a smaller feature addition.
Well, I think my main problems with the roadmap so far was less the content of the roadmap, but more seeing it built. Things appear out of nowhere, or we don't really know when things happen, even if it's not fixed. But for many stuff, it's getting better with the Qt Labs. But in many places, you don't really know if there is something planned, what is planned, when do we think it will get into mainline, not as a fixed decision, but as a plan. Stuff like that should be more visible. And more discussions should be seen. Why do we do this? Why is it postponed? Stuff like that.
Yes, so you're completely right. You're completely right. We need to be able to show you not only the roadmap, but the discussion and the decisions that led to the roadmap. And more than that, we want you to participate in those decisions. So you have a company here. So we have our friends from consulting, but you as a company here, you're probably using Qt for a project or another. And some of the things we might be thinking of might be in conflict of where you want to go. So let's discuss together. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do this with us. Now, meritocracy, or like Knut always says, the do-ocracy, meaning he who does it makes the decision. So we have 100 people who are working on this, and like our CTO said yesterday, we're betting the company on this technology. So you can expect we're going to do a heavy investment on it. You can tell us what you want, and very often they're very, very good suggestions. We'll always take them into account. But are you prepared to match and also invest and participate in it?
The roadmap is just as much about what you're not doing as what you are doing. When you tell us what you are doing, you're also telling us what are the areas that are safe for us to add value. And
yes.
And often companies don't want to admit what they're not doing. They kind of want to hedge it. But the more honest you are about what you're not doing, the easier it is for us to fill those voids for you.
You're right.
And I think in there, once we start to open up the mailing list and actually do all of the development also with the public repositories, I think it's very easy to actually see where is something happening and where something isn't happening. So I think there are quite quick wins on fixing that.
I'd like to move on to a different topic here, which is of QA management. So you all know that we support a couple of platforms. And many of you have been asking us to port Qt to this one or other platform. You know what I'm talking about. Now, suppose somebody else does it. How do we handle the QA on that platform? This is a challenge. So what suggestions do we have here? One thing is that obviously we need to be able to give you the tests. We have done that. The network tests, stuck in legal approval. The results for existing platforms, trying to do that. But what else?
Yeah, I would say that continuous integration and automatic testing is really important.
Okay, but how do we do continuous integration on a platform that we don't have in-house?
That's a good question. Maybe someone else can host it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you're going to need to have when you say we, like host it, and if you have a truly open source project, you should just have a trusted maintainer who's now owns, let's say, that platform, and it's their responsibility that when patches come in, whether it's for that platform or whether they just run regression tests every once in a while to make sure nobody has inadvertently broken their platform. But I could see it working the same way as some of the obscure platforms that used to be at Trolltech. Like you didn't really support some of the weird unices, but it was somebody's job to compile it every once in a while and actually run the regression tests.
Mm-hmm. Good. It's a good suggestion.
So
yes.
You don't need the hardware in-house. You just need someone who does.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
To disagree with my colleague. No, the problem isn't the engineering here, it's the marketing and telling the market we either support this platform and if it's halfway supported, it'll appear as a tarnish on the whole industry. So
okay.
So I'm a little more conservative than Justin is in that somehow there has to be a way of saying it works.
So how do we do about this? Yes, you can support something halfway and then it becomes negative. How can we avoid this problem?
I think you just need to be clear, and you're already doing this actually, about the which platforms are tier 1, which means that, for instance, Nokia is investing in QA, and which are tier 2 or 3 or 4, or decide whatever levels you need, and those are maintained by a maintainer who's in charge of making sure that the patches are acceptable and maybe having a way to test those, but you are not blessing it as Nokia. I think other projects came to a solution like this one I can bring the experience of GCC because I used to be a GCC maintainer actually.
Okay.
And in GCC we exactly had the same problem because there are so many platforms in there, and you know, there are some platforms like ARM which are really well maintained, and then you get others like AVR which is just full of bugs, but they were all the same level. So at one point they said, okay, we need to say this triplet is tier 1, this other is tier 2, and then people can just figure it out if they, how much they can trust the compiler.
Okay.
Actually, I was waiting for Knut to come over here, but yeah, next time it's you. You got to run. Yeah, but I mean, the other obvious way would be, I mean, to use this somehow Google approach of the perpetual beta, right? I mean, the QA is a really, they can break your neck in the sense of, I mean, you can require people to, while, I mean, they deliver the code to also deliver the testing part and all the test cases around it. But I mean, that is a huge requirement for anybody to contribute. So I don't know, again, adding the social networking part to it, I mean, you put something in beta and then let people vote for it until it comes up to a scale where, I mean, it reaches a trustworthy level. I mean, I don't know if that's, you know, how practical that is, because after all, you need to have the test cases who can give the hard evidence, but I think this is something that really slows you down. I mean, QA management in a distributed software environment, it's absolutely non-trivial. And I mean, this is one of my concerns also, is for the whole process. I mean, how much is that going to impact the speed of Qt? Because I mean, switching from this mode of you know, having a very tightly knit community that knows what it's doing to an open network where people are, you know, need to still learn about what it means to maintain. I mean, I think you're losing an order of magnitude in speed, at least in the first run, right? And then everybody, I guess, hopes for the synergies down the road, but then I think, I don't know, it's never been done on that scale, so it's a bit scary.
No, I mean, sorry. There is an example of being done on that scale. It is was the Netscape browser, Mozilla, and then becoming Firefox. If you remember, when it became open source, the time it took from the open sourcing to have the first Mozilla release was a huge time. So you're right, it could impact in the speed. Sorry, my throat is hurting me. Now, we obviously want to avoid this. We want to make sure it doesn't happen. We are having a lot of internal discussions in QA. So you may think Qt is good. I think it is. We're trying to make it even better. More tested, better quality management for it, which means we are putting in ourselves already a huge amount of requirements in terms of QAing our own code. No new features except without testing. 90% coverage testing, otherwise it doesn't go in. This is something we're thinking for ourselves. Now, being fair, it has to apply to everybody. So there will be a great barrier of entry in order for anybody to contribute. If you want to make a module, and it will be a big investment. But how can we make it easy? How can we help along? I don't have the answer. I'm actually expecting somebody to have a good suggestion.
Yeah, I just want to take issue with that because as a developer, I see writing unit tests as part of my job, and actually that helps increase my speed as a developer. So, okay, doing integration testing takes resources, but I don't think it's too much of a demand as long as it's easy to run the test system, as long as it's like extremely trivial just to start the test suite and just run it. I don't see that as an issue at all, as a barrier for contribution. I'm actually happier if I can contribute something which has a unit test attached to it than without.
Okay, it's a good point. Make sure that the infrastructure is easy to use. Mm-hmm. Is it on?
Okay, have you Have you considered about some code review tool like Garrett, which is used in the Android community, where everyone can vote, or every contributor could vote, and also running the unit tests and some other coding style checkers which will vote for you? So at least you don't introduce new regressions with in the old code base.
Mm-hmm. So yes, it's a good point. We need to have a tool like that. I don't know if the one you mentioned is the one we are going to use, if it fulfills our needs. But I've investigated it previously, and I think it is a very good tool for us to use. We've been using also Gitorius, which has code commenting. It's missing the integration with the bot system and the compilation and everything else.
I just wanted to say something about like my personal experience of contributing things to Qt. The thing that I miss when contributing right now is just getting feedback, like whether it's positive or negative. So I don't know what, and I see there's obviously a problem with scalability there, that there's a limited number of people who can like look at all these patches coming in, and this is obviously part of the idea of trying to introduce meritocracy.
Yes.
But I'm not sure, like the first step, maybe it should just be to create like a mailing list where you can post patches and people can comment. It doesn't have to be more fancy than that. And maybe a wiki that people could edit.
So I've been trying to get exactly that. So a mailing list, not only where you can post your patches, but where we post our patches and we discuss. So this is something I've been trying to get. I've been running into some internal issues, infrastructure, legalities, and everything else. But I'm trying to get exactly that. So a place where you can discuss the ideas.
Yeah,
your ideas. When we are discussing our ideas, which gives you the visibility of what and what not. It gives you the way we work, so you can participate in the community. I'm trying exactly that.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, because like as a developer, you know, sometimes I think, oh, it'd be really great to have this, but I don't want to just implement it and then for someone to say, no, we thought of that was a stupid idea. You know, it would be really good to just be able to have someone to post the question first and get some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the main thing as a developer that I'm like missing right now, is just the feedback.
Okay.
And perhaps a bit more like perhaps more community related things. It would be nice if I really like the Qt Lab blogs, but I'd like to be able to blog somewhere like that myself.
Good point. So a blog aggregator, yes, yes. It was on my plans. But thank you. Otherwise, I'd like to talk about dealing with conflicts and the unexpected. So I know from experience in, for example, the KDE community, sometimes we run into a long discussion, a flame war in the mailing list, and it just doesn't get resolved. It's the last one the loudest one who actually wins. It's not necessarily a technical decision. Inside a company, it's easy. We can just escalate the hierarchy, and the boss says so, we do it. How do we do this in a community so that it's not the boss, right? It's not Nokia telling you what to do. How can we have a system where it's fair for everybody and we don't end up with deadlocks? Do we have anybody with an experience in this kind of situation that can contribute to the discussion here?
You can have administrator elections for the mailing list, for instance.
You're talking about mailing list moderators.
Moderators, yeah.
Yeah, the mailing list moderator is somebody who can make sure that nobody's swearing, that everybody's keeping their calm. Yes, but how does it get us to the decision?
I was involved in the X Windows system in the early days, and I think it came down to one person has to make a decision. And as much as I'd love it to be a more open process, I'm a believer at the top there's got to be a final decision maker.
Okay, yes, one person, maybe, but who? You. No, no. Okay,
yeah,
fair enough, maybe somebody in Nokia, but
isn't that really like the role of a maintainer?
Is it the role of the maintainer? Maybe. So were we saying that the maintainer is the person who has the last say in a piece of the code?
The reason in a company it goes up to management is at the end it's a what the customer wants decision, not a technical decision. And you got to be careful. So it's got to be one person that understands the marketing requirement, the business requirement, not just the. That's why this gets hard.
Yes, but then it gets harder for us here because you have a customer, we have another customer. Our customers might want differently.
Well, much like the Linux kernel works, you need to get it up through the chain, through the lieutenants, and if your idea doesn't mesh with what the said, if there's two ideas that come in, the person that's in the hierarchy above you, like one of Linux's lieutenants, is going to decide that this patch is the way to go. The other approach is might be valid, but not the way it's going to happen. And if there's still conflict, it goes higher up the chain until somebody at the top, Linux, says, well, overall, we're just going to go this way.
Okay. The Linux kernel model is so-called the benevolent dictatorship. So there is one dictator for life who is Linus, and he gets to make the final decisions. But he's a good person, therefore it's a benevolent dictatorship. It is a model that works. I just don't want anybody, I don't like the dictatorship. So how can we have a model that is even fairer than that?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that Linus is saying the last word on every single patch being posted. So we are just talking on like generic discussion or stuff that maintainers can't agree upon. So this benevolent dictator model is just, to have someone that says the final word when technical maintainers just can't agree. It's just a way to, uneven a discussion.
Okay. Yes, I'll tell you this, that we had been thinking of exactly that.
Dictators don't have to be for life, so
yeah,
it could be. But the other thing is, if you really had a community road mapping process and you really knew what direction you wanted to go in, then it's much easier to make these decisions by looking at whether this particular thing better supports or and starting with what problem you're trying to solve rather than how are you solving the problem.
It's a good point. We're still about, well, 15 minutes to go. Is there, there's some people here who have been contributing a lot, thank you. Some people who are very quiet. Is there anything that some of you want to discuss here or ask the question while we're still here? We have 15 minutes left. For example, you might be here representing your company, and you're thinking this might be good for me, or this might actually impact me. Is there anybody in that position and want to share with us something? Anybody who wants to contribute on how do we do releases? If not, we'll continue that discussion, which is going fine. I'm just asking if there's anybody who has a pressing topic you want us to discuss here.
Hi. I'm just curious if you've got any ideas on sort of timescales for bootstrapping this process, about maybe getting the mailing lists in place. Maybe timescales, and also perhaps something that would be useful would be a breakdown of existing Nokians that contribute to certain modules, so we know who to contact to maybe sort of bootstrap the process of getting a better understanding of different modules so we can then contribute to them.
Okay, it's a fair point. Timescale is as soon as possible. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm running into some internal hurdles that I need to solve. Mailing list being one of them. Then we also run into a small issue of privacy. We can't tell people's names without their permission. So many of us, we come here, we blog, but there are many who you don't know, and they don't want that. They are working and they would like not to publish their names. So we have this approval process to go through before anything happens. I'm trying to get it as fast as possible. Right? I'm really devoting my time to get this, and I really want to have the mailing list and the people discussing very soon. And you get the names out of that. We need to publish then on a wiki, for example. Here's the code base. This person knows this person is the maintainer of that particular code, right? So he's going to make the final decisions. And yes, the first version, we're probably going to bootstrap it with people from our organization and have maybe some areas up for grab where people can contribute, and some others whom we know already are fit outside of Nokia to participate. So this is on our mind. I would really love to give you, say, in a month's time we'll have the mailing list, but I can't, because it is a process that has a lot of things internally. If I do know a number, I'll let you know as soon as I do. But it's more likely that, hey, the mailing list is out. And this is the first news you hear. You can also help us with infrastructure. So anybody who might want to participate by hosting, by providing services, by aggregating test runs from other platforms, we're up for...
So apart from the mailing list, I've heard some really nice ideas about how we could go forward. So after today's session, how do you guys plan to go back and discuss internally, and how do we move on from today?
So open governance, we are making an effort of discussing open governance in the open. So I don't want to have, unless necessary, discussions internally. What I need internally is to get the approval, to get my management to say this is a good thing. We have already committed to it, and you heard in the keynotes yesterday from the CTO saying open governance, and from the VP saying yes, open governance. So we are doing this. What I need to do is just say this is what we've been thinking. The discussion here was good, really good, and I'll tell them, so this is the model. The discussions we've had on the mailing list already, on the open governance mailing list, is more very well in line of what we discussed here again, which goes to show this is what the community, us here, and I'm including myself, want. This is a model that might very well work. So let's try and get there. Let's try and bootstrap it. This is the discussions I have to have internally. Anything else, I would very much like to have in the open. So how do we do release management in QA? So what Kimo was saying before about how do we do the road mapping, I want to have it into the open. Discuss how to do it in the open. Otherwise, I think let's end here so that you have the time to get some coffee and go to the next session. Here we'll have Min Jung talking about the roadmap for mobility. Am I right, Min? Otherwise, thank you for participating. You can always come to me. I'm available by email. And I think I had, yes, links. The mailing list for discussing open governance. It's not the cute development mailing list. It's the mailing list for discussing the open governance. Is there. We have some information on the wiki. You might be interested to know that what we discussed is very much in line with what's in the wiki. And you can always mail me personally if you, for whatever reason, don't want to say so in the public. Come to me, mail me, I'm there. Thank you very much.